lovelies, welcome to Cancer with a Smile. Today is part 3 of my cancer story, all about chemotherapy. As part of my treatment for breast cancer, I had 4 rounds of chemotherapy and I had these every 3 weeks. The chemotherapies I had were doxycycline and cyclophosphamide. These have other names in America and things, so if they don't sound familiar, give them a Google and you'll see that sometimes they just have a different name. The reason that I only got 4 rounds of chemotherapy rather than 6, which is what a lot of people get, is because I was given an onco test, which is where they send away a little sample of your tumour, and they do this in America and they've just started offering it in the UK. So actually a bit of my tumour went all the way to America, which is pretty cool. And the idea behind this test is it kind of predicts how likely you are to get a reoccurrence from your cancer. So they look at your tumour and they compare it to other tumours that were similar to yours. So they've collected lots of different tumours from all different people. They've been doing research for a very long time, and they compare your tumour to see if they think that you're likely to get a reoccurrence. Now, I had decided with my oncologist that if my recurrence chance was low, that I wouldn't get chemotherapy, and if it was high, then obviously I would. Now, of course, where did mine come out? Kind of in the middle. So I was just over the grade for low chance of reoccurrence. So because of my age, in fact I had a family, my oncologist really recommended that I do chemotherapy. But because I was kind of towards the low end, she said she thought that 4 rounds of chemotherapy, they were doing research that they found 4 chemotherapies were effective enough. So that's why I did 4 chemotherapies rather than the 6. I'm not going to lie to you folks, if you're about to go through chemotherapy, it is not easy. Now, there's lots of different kinds of chemotherapy and some are easier than others and some are milder than others, but the chemotherapy for breast cancer tends to be pretty harsh on your body. But what you have to think of is the fact is getting in there and it's killing any little rogue cancer cells that have been left behind after your operation, or it's trying to reduce your tumour before you have an operation. So it's super important, but it is tough stuff. So I thought I'd just tell you about my experience with therapy. Generally, I found throughout my 4 chemotherapies, each time it got a little bit easier to deal with the side effects. Now, most people, I think your oncologist tells them it'll get harder because it gets harsher on your body each time. Your body gets a little bit more worn out each time it goes through chemotherapy. So I don't know if I'd had 6 by 5 or 6, I would have been really struggling. But I did actually find each time that it got a little bit easier. My first chemotherapy, the thing I struggled with the most was insomnia. I actually didn't sleep for 5 whole days and nights, which doesn't sound long, but it was absolute torture. And I'm not like talking about, wake up in the night or maybe only having 1 or 2 hours sleep. I didn't sleep at all, not a single wink of sleep. So by the time I got to about day 3, I was completely wrecked. Like my brain just wasn't even working anymore because I was so tired. And the doctor thought that the reason that I was struggling so much to sleep was a combination of the steroids, which make you really quite wired, also the fact my body kind of went into this fight or flight, where your body produces a lot of adrenaline, and then it's really hard to sleep because the adrenaline's pumping, because basically your body's saying, run away from this thing that is doing a bad thing to your body. So my body just didn't know how to cope with the chemotherapy and all the toxins that were running through it, so it was pumping adrenaline. Also, one of the medications I was taking for sickness, one of the side effects of that was it can make you twitchy and it could give you problems sleeping. It was quite an unusual side effect, but it was a side effect, so I think that played a part in it as well. So because I had such problems sleeping in my first chemotherapy, I found that it took me a lot longer to get over the effects of it. What else is hard? So the only way I can describe how chemotherapy makes you feel is it's like a combination of having a really bad hangover and the flu at the same time. So you feel that kind of a wee bit achy and a wee bit shaky, and you also just feel like your brain can't focus on anything and you just feel really shattered all the time. It's not easy. But you can get through it, you can definitely get through it, and your doctors will give you lots of medication to help you get through it. So you get sickness medication. I actually didn't struggle very much with sickness at all. You will get painkillers if you're having any pain. A lot of people get joint pain. I was really lucky and I didn't get a lot of joint pain. I sometimes got a bit of a headache, I think, from being tired. One of the other hard side effects I found of chemotherapy was the way it affects your mouth. So basically, chemo affects any cells in your body that are reproducing, so that are multiplying. So things like that are growing in your body, like your hair, your nails, the tissue within your mouth. Can't think of anything else that grows within your body. But basically anything that's still reproducing in your body, it kills those cells. So that's why it kills the cancer cells, because they are trying to reproduce. So it really affects your mouth because it basically kills all the lining of your mouth. And your mouth kind of feels a wee bit like, you know, when you eat something that's really hot and it burns your mouth and it feels a bit numb and a bit gross, but it's like in your whole mouth. So the first round of chemotherapy, I really struggled with that. Actually, at points, it almost felt like somebody had put an ashtray in my mouth. It was so disgusting, and you quite often get a kind of metally taste. So there's lots of things you can do to kind of compensate for that, and I actually have a video that's my top tips for getting through chemo that tells you all about the things I did to help with my mouth, and it made a big difference. The main one I would say is oil pulling. If you're going through chemo, I highly recommend doing oil pulling every day because it really helped me. So that was round 1. Now, by the time I got to week 3 after my first chemo, I was starting to feel a little bit better. I'd taken a throat infection in week 2, and I think because of all the problems sleeping, it took me longer to get over the first round. The second round, I got similar side effects as round 1. I didn't have the sleep problems because I wasn't taking the medication anymore, and I felt like my body had got a bit more used to what was going on. When I got chemo, it wasn't such a fright to it. So I did still get dry mouth, I felt really tired, but it didn't last as long. And I would say with the second one, I maybe started to recover about 2 weeks in. Whereas with the first one, it took, you know, the full 3 weeks before I felt really like I could even go out and about. But I would say after the second one, kind of 2 weeks in, I was maybe out and about. I was going to the cafe with my friends, I was doing wee bits and pieces. I took a throat infection with my second one as well, which made me go, oh my gosh, am I going to take a throat infection every time? But I actually only got it the first 2 times. Round 3 of chemotherapy, things got a lot easier. I don't know if it was a combination of I kind of knew how to deal with the side effects, so I knew what sort of things I could eat, what sort of things I could do, how to rest, and my body just seemed to recover more quickly. It was like it kind of knew what was going on and it wasn't as frightened by it. So by round 3, I was still getting a really yucky mouth. I felt tired for a good wee while, but within about a week, I was out and about again. I was meeting people and I was doing things. I was still tired and I was having to sleep most days, but I got a lot better. What I did find with round 3 and 4 was that I started to get nauseous, which was strange because I didn't get that at the start of the chemotherapy or with the second one. But the last 2, it started to make me feel a bit sick. I was lucky I wasn't physically sick. I think I maybe was once, but not a lot. But I did feel nauseous, so I had to take ginger tea. I ate lots of little bits, really helped me. By round 4, within the first week, I think about 4 days after the chemo, I was out meeting people and doing things. It definitely got a lot easier for me come round 4. It still took me 3 weeks to get totally over the side effects of the chemo and start to feel like I was getting back to normal, but it was so much faster, so that was a great thing for me. Hair loss wise, my hair fell out, well, it started to fall out about 13 days after my first chemo. I've got quite fine hair and I think that's probably why it fell out quite quickly. A lot of people, it takes a lot longer for their hair to fall out. And as soon as my hair started to shed, I could feel it going. You can feel your scalp gets kind of sore and it just feels a bit weird and sensitive, and my hair got really greasy, and I actually got to the point I hated my hair and I didn't want to look at it or touch it, and I was scraping it into a ponytail. It was kind of shoulder length. So about 13 days I think it was after, I remember going like this and bits of hair starting to come out into my hands, and I said, right, that's it, we're shaving it off. So my husband and I shaved our heads. We actually did a charity fundraiser to kind of make it a bit more positive. and that was how I dealt with the hair loss. I then wore scarves that I kind of tied, cute little scarves around my head, and I wore little soft beanie hats, which was really good because with the weather was a bit cooler, your head would get a bit cold. I actually felt like my head was cold for most of the time, but I didn't have hair. Other people seem to get used to it. I was not a big fan of wigs. I got a really nice wig and I loved the way it looked, but I couldn't bear to wear it. It was too itchy, and I think when you're feeling run down and you're feeling exhausted and tired and your body's not feeling good, the last thing you want is another thing annoying you. So wigs weren't for me. As much as I loved the look of it, I couldn't bear to wear the thing, and I just wore scarves and hats. And that's about everything. So chemo, folks, it is tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. Make sure you get help because it's not gonna be easy. Watch my video with the top tips because it'll really help you get through chemo. I wish I'd known all the things before I started my chemo, because I think that's why it got easier each time, because you got to know what to expect. Really hope this video has been helpful if you're going to go through chemo. I hope it's not scared you, because I know it sounds quite negative, but you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And if you get yourself in the mindset that each time you maybe give yourself a little treat as you get through one and get through the next one, and just think this is the thing that's going to get rid of all that evil cancer shit in your body. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If you found this interesting, please join the club and subscribe. I am also on Instagram, where I'm blogging every day all about my cancer story, and I have a blog which is cancerwithasmile.com. I'd love to see you guys over there. I really appreciate all your help and all your support. Really has helped me get through cancer, which is tough, but we all need to just be here for each other. Thanks for watching, lovelies. Bye now.